of November 19th. Did you want us to look at them? Is there any further minutes on those? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes from November 19th.
I'll make a motion. Oh, go ahead.
Lydia made the motion and Robert seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Next is accepting donations, and some of you may have figured this out. I think I put 101, but it's 106 is the amount of dollars. And I checked Liz's report. Liz has had it. I'm going to blame it on Liz.
Okay.
The amounts added up to 106, but it was all one. And then I heard from Melanie who said it's 106. So anyway, $106 was donated, and Liz detailed on her report the source of those funds. Is there a motion to accept the donations received in November?
I'll make a motion. Accept.
Is there a second? Richard second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. November financials were sent out. I basically forwarded to you the reports that I received from Melanie. They were forwarded to me. Did anybody have any comment, or if you communicated with Melanie, I asked you if you had any particular questions, you could email her directly. Comments on that at this point?
Well, was the deposit, the grant and donation, that $106 we just quoted.
Right.
But it also shows fines and miscellaneous deposits of $559.50.
Those are always done through Liz.
Yeah.
But those come in, obviously fines and that sort of stuff comes in directly to the library, and the library office does. So if there are motion to approve we don't have to do accepting treasury reports anymore. They're fine. We'll move right on. And select board liaison report.
I think Susan will probably have more details. Part of that.
Okay, sorry.
Let me kind of give you a sense of the select board. When we look at the budget, we looked at and the AD did this also, but all of us agreed with this. But we looked at the things that you want to put into the operating budget that look to us like part of the development part of the building of the library. So we try to separate out those things that are part of making a new library and separating those things out from things that are kind of daily operating or yearly operating expenses. So some of the things that you propose, we put into warrant articles because we want the population to make those decisions. And that we took out some of those things out of the operating budget and put them aside because it seemed to us that this was part of building a new library. And so there were some changes there. I hope they're big at this point, but that's kind of the sense of where the select board is. And I think we'll continue to have that opinion that when we went to the people and said they're going to build the library and this is what it's going to cost, then that should be what it's going to cost for the people of Barrington, as opposed to running the library. And I don't think anyone on the board is against the library or trying to fight against the library. I think we want to really be transparent. We've asked them for a lot of money here. We've asked the citizens for a chunk of money here. It's going to be something like 3% of the increase in the budget this year, 3.5% increase in budget this year. So that's kind of the sense of where the select board is going. So Susan deals more than me.
Well, and I sent the message I sent to or the memo I sent to the select board requesting they reconsider 3 items I sent to you all. So you all had that same information. And the 3 items basically were some money for landscaping, which really the landscape maintenance, and originally asked for $2,500. We reduced that request to the select board to like $1,500, and which sort of matches what we've done here over the years as far as getting in mulch and such. And basically, expecting volunteers to do a lot of the work. So we felt it was reasonable to maintain some of that in the operating, but the ABC felt that landscaping of the new site should have, at least in the first year, been included in the project grant or project bond, which we did not include in that bond in order to keep the bond low so voters would pass it. The other item had to do with the technology, the IT, which we had the quote from Block 5, and that's what we had used in preparing the budget. And the committee, at the select board, they asked a question, or they mentioned how much of that $10,000, I can't remember the number, Liz, right off, but it was like that. How much of that was related to transitioning to the new site, and how much of that would have been normal support like we have had over the years here from Back Bay. And I didn't have a breakdown on that didn't have that information in front of me, and I didn't recall if they
Really, yeah, he didn't break it down in his quote to us. That was simply what he said it was going to cost us for our monthly maintenance. It's like, it's more expensive with Block 5.
So it didn't appear that Block 5 was saying, let's say 5,000 of that is related to getting into the new building, getting troubleshooting and all that, and the rest would be a monthly maintenance. They just put it into monthly maintenance. So we had to assume that that was going to be around the year-round amount. So thinking that some portion of that was just related to moving into the new building, the ABC cut the money back from the 10,000 we budgeted to 3,000. That basically drives the decision that we cannot use Block 5. So, and I think Connor made some comment at the select board meeting that I would have to go back to him and say, what were you saying that was the advantage to be with Block 5 by being all on the same fiber or something? I didn't really understand what he was saying.
Technologically online.
Yeah.
I didn't register either. I didn't register.
But, if it was going to be 10,000 for 6 months, and we had to assume that monthly amount was going to continue, that just shoots our budget. So we'll talk about that more, but Liz basically asked for a quote from Back Bay for everything. So we will talk about that in a bit. Yeah.
One other item.
Yes, I was going to say the third item was the fact that our host for the website is retiring and could not find a buyer for his business. And so we put into our operating budget the next fall, unrelated to the building. We were going to need to transfer that site over to a new host, and the transfer was going to cost about $2,000. The ABC felt that that was an appropriate cost to be billed to the tech capital reserve, which is really for one-time kind of expenses, and that kind of makes sense. Liz had selected the least expensive option just based on cost.
We don't like them as much.
Pardon?
We don't like them as
Well,
much.
I think, Liz, quite honestly, I think we need to step back from that, and because in your comments, you said it's not as functional as the current one.
No.
And I think we may not want to go with that option, just to save $1,000 or something like
Yeah.
that. So those things we will need to fund that transition, probably the technology capital reserve, and we're going to need to really work on the budget for that tech capital reserve, because this is the point at which we're going to need to make some significant one-time expenditures. So now you may comment again. Anna.
Further on. Yeah, select board does understand collectively how difficult it was to make an operating for a building we don't know anything about, basically. Still, there's gonna be a pretty big hit. We're increasing. Now, if we pass everything, it's gonna be about 56-cent increase in the rate, which is quite a bit. We've usually gone up nickel and dime. This year, it's gonna be 56%, 56 cents. So your tax bill from the town's gonna be $3.55.
Wow.
Whereas it's usually been under 3 or recently. So again, there's a lot of looking, a lot of gnashing of teeth. Budget's set now. We'll go to the budget hearing to the community on the 6th of January. We cannot increase the budget from what we can increase what we're asking at this hearing. It could be changed at the deliberative session, but not in the budget hearing. The town can vote to decrease the budget on the 6th of January and increase it. So what you see is what you got, basically.
And I have a comment and a question for you.
Yeah.
One of the changes that the select board did make from the ABC is there was a request for a new police officer, which is, I think, very justifiable in our town, in the borough. The ABC recommended that be in a separate warrant article. The select board said, if it's really a need, it's not, it needs to be in the operating budget, essentially. That's my summary. So that increases the operating budget. And then there was a request for an additional position in the planning department, and
Right.
ABC, I don't know what happened with that.
That's what it says in a warrant article.
Okay,
Well, I take it back. The agreement was that that person for the planning will be paid completely from the conservation fund. And I'm sorry, it's not gonna go to. It's already conservation commission going to pay 100%. We're signed up to pay
but
10%.
would it be a separate warrant article, or what's that in the budget?
It wasn't, the budget was taken out of the budget. So I'm not sure we're gonna have a warrant article to authorize the position. It'll be funded entirely out of conservation, so it's not gonna be in the operating budget, nor will it be
The
a
real,
financial warrant article.
the risk, I think, that we face, I discovered, was if the budget doesn't pass and we have the default budget for the library in our new building would be our budget for this building. So it will be a huge problem for us. I'm hoping that we don't have to, that we're not gonna have that problem. But if we did, I think one question we would have to the select board would be, at this building, we do not pay for utilities. So it seems to me not reasonable that we would have to somehow absorb utilities out of a budget, using a budget that didn't cover utilities. But that's in the future. Hopefully it won't come to pass.
Okay, I will not comment on that. For one thing, there'll be a new budget. By the time we know, there'll be a whole new select board, so. a whole
That's
new
true.
select board.
But you're on,
No, I'm good. It's
Joyce and
Rob.
Rob, and I understand Rob is running for reelection in case someone wants to run for select board.
Yeah, please do. Although I think we may have a candidate identified.
That would be
Be
good.
good. Yeah, so again,
So a lot
one
of,
of the reasons we put policemen back in the operating budget, because then it can be part of the default budget. Like, if it was a separate warrant article and failed, then we actually couldn't address that position for another year, because once the town says no, you can't do workarounds.
you can't fund it at a different funding source. They said no, it's just.
Yeah. So the inner workings, sorry.
No, that was useful. So, so anyway, that was the result on that. Anything else from the select board?
Thank you, no.
No, that was good. Directors report, Liz, I have a whole bunch of stuff here.
Yes, it looks like.
Familiar to you. I put the first item closure on December 23rd, because I think technically the board needs to vote to close the library that additional day. And I'll let you explain what's going on.
Jim Anderson, they've been having trouble with their heat and rec, as in not having any. We're fine. It's been very warm up here. Apparently, the problem is a leak in the ceiling pipe near our circulation desk. And he could only get them to come in and fix it like December 23rd and 24th. And he was going to try to do it early so we could open. But when I talked to him, they're going to tear a hole in the wall. We aren't going to be able to get down the hall to the bathrooms, or it's going to be difficult. And they're worried that it might not just be a simple fix. The building's old. The guy, even the technician's like, I don't know what I'm going to find when we get in there. which doesn't give me any confidence. Plus, they also were worried about, well, if that thing blows, it's gonna be a real problem. Yes, it will. So I said, he was happy to hear we are taking our floating holiday on the 24th, unlike the rest of the town, which is taking on the 26th. And I said, if he thought it was gonna be a serious enough fix, we could probably close on the 23rd because I don't want to be here, have the staff all ready to go, and then have a major malfunction.
So, what will you do with respect to that? Is this,
Is it admin time?
that's my question. Is this paid administrative leave because of closing the building, or are you gonna have people try to make up time later in the week, or?
I don't think we're gonna have time to make up our time.
Yeah.
I've got, one person, somebody's taking from the 24th on off. They have plenty of earned time. Most of us don't have tons and tons of earned time. I mean, obviously, there's things I can always do at home, but not things that everybody else can
Yeah.
do.
I
mean,
I work on Mondays, does she?
She does not work on Mondays. I do not have a morning person. I do not have a custodian. So it's a small, it's a small group of us who
And was anybody else already taking that week?
not, somebody's taking after Christmas off.
Okay,
Everybody else was gonna be working that day pretty much, except for, Tori.
yeah. So it seems like, I mean, I think we need to close the building given the.
He seemed worried about it.
What do people think?
So you were gonna close 24th and 25th anyway, Tuesday and Wednesday.
Mhm.
So now you want to take an extra day. Which, when I do something, it all seems like it takes longer than you thought it was going to take, at least it does.
It is in my house, I know that.
Yeah. So I think it makes sense, now, if they can fix it by Tuesday, or they can work on Christmas, so. we can
Well,
go
no,
Thursday.
they were gonna do Tuesday and Wednesday.
They were gonna do Tuesday, they were gonna work on it, because after he tears the hole in the wall and fixes it, he does have to sheet rock it back up, so it's a matter of getting people back in. He thinks it'll be sheet rocked by Tuesday, but he's not positive.
So it sounds prudent to take the day on.
So what do you say, Ezra?
It sounds prudent to take the day on 25th.
And make it an administrative
Yeah,
closure. So that means staff who are scheduled to work on that Monday would get paid for that day.
Yeah.
Okay, is there a motion to that effect?
Yes, I make a motion to that effect.
I'll second that.
Yeah.
How they get paid on?
We did them.
Tuesday, it's our floating holiday.
So we've had a motion and a second to close the library on the 23rd for repairs and pay staff as an administrative day. All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Well, we talked about the next item, Liz.
Okay, we talked about the revisions, but the tech warrant article, I would love to have a quote from back. I would love to hear from back how they think we need to proceed. And I feel as though that's part of the whole warrant article and technology plan, because they did replace our firewall today. Our phones are still as bad. They're in touch with BreezeLine. Now they think it's BreezeLine. They think it might be a bad coax cable. The firewall did need to be replaced anyway, so that's good. But now BreezeLine is coming this Thursday between 8:30 and 10:30, so I'm gonna be here at 8:30. And to see if, I'm wondering if, maybe the problem is on BreezeLines, and then if they replace the coax cable and we replace the firewall, maybe we will be able to talk to people on the phone again.
Meanwhile, we also still need to, we signed the contract with Block 5.
With Block 5 for the new phones, and I have not heard from them, so I need to get back to Mike. The only problem in this is that apparently my account was hacked into, and I sent out I apologize if anybody got a wild email from me and the state library today. Just delete it. And somebody sent another one to Back Bay purporting to be from us regarding the diagrams from the new building. Back Bay, Block 5 sent that to me. I've switched everything. I've switched passwords and this and that. So I'm hoping that is resolved, but I have to now call. I have to call Block 5, but I'm thinking I have to wait until they can hear me.
What is your cell phone?
I could use my cell phone and just beg. Yeah, it's been loads of fun. Everybody's just pulling out their cell phone all the time to talk
You
to
called me
people.
last week on the cell phone.
Yes.
Well, we signed a new contract. When is that supposed to go into effect? And when it's-
He had it, the one that we had signed was supposed to be in effect by the middle of November, but we didn't sign it and send it back until the end of November. So I'm assuming the middle of December, which is where we are right now.
You said he would get it in within a month.
Yes,
So-
and I know he had surgery, so.
But the tech warrant article itself was increased from our usual 3,000 to 5,000. And that was really after the ABC saw Liz updated the technology plan. Did we send that out to the board?
I don't think I sent it out to the,
And I don't remember, you don't remember getting anything? Okay, Liz went through the technology plan, had been done, I think when Melissa was here.
it was in 2020, so 4 years on.
And she went through and in white ink, red ink, so you could tell.
I can
Updated a
send
lot of
that out.
areas and then did a summary of from what we were getting from, I guess, Block 5, probably, what kind of numbers we were looking at for investing. And seeing, I think the ABC was very sympathetic, particularly when they saw the age of some of the equipment and software and such we're using. It was pretty horrific. So they initiated to increase that tech warrant article to 5,000, 3,000, we get to save towards that. So it's an area, as soon as we can nail down the information from Back Bay,
Back Bay, yes.
we really need to take a hard look at that. But Back Bay's replacement of the firewall, one firewall, was
$845,
compared to, remember, we were talking about 2 firewalls for
14,000.
1,000 from
That's not-
Block 5. So something seems odd with these numbers, but
And it only took the guy 15 minutes today to come in.
We
He
should do it.
came in, unplugged it, told us, oh, get off. We weren't open. We got off. He plugged it back in. Yeah, we've had to call them a couple times. Some different, like the door count was on the old firewall and wasn't accepting the new IP address, but everything else, we're up and running
but
again.
at least
And the wireless is, the Wi-Fi is up and running and people can get into that.
so. Any questions about technology? I think this is an area we're gonna have to spend more time over the next couple of months in making decisions on. What we were talking about before, about getting servers replaced and that sort of thing. We haven't heard from Back Bay yet, so. Until we hear from them. But, if we get decent numbers from them and can make those changes in this fiscal year and get it done, then we may go ahead and do that.
Because the original, like, when we were thinking about Block 5, was that what the town uses as Block 5?
Yes.
And so it's like, oh, just get on to Block 5, but it's so much more expensive.
It's the cost. I would love to be consistent, but
It doesn't make sense fiscally, but it's like,
It would seem to make sense if we all did it the same, the price would be lower, but
it should be. But Connor told me that when they were doing the move to the new town hall, they budgeted $100,000 for technology. $100,000. So maybe.
sounds
Yeah, we-
nice.
He said that was like a second system. They went through another system before they went to Block 5 that was not satisfactory. So it appeared they've been happy with Block 5, and it sounded like there's a lot of upgrading of, I don't know, cable or something that he talked about. But I'd love to do it, but I'm not sure. We just don't have the money for that.
Is going to be able to give such a competitive price. I mean, like, just if you're comparing the firewall replacement costs alone, you're
Yeah.
like, that's just so much more
It's much
feasible.
more affordable.
Yeah,
So while we thought we were gonna have to be talking right at this meeting about dipping into our own non-public monies to make, to get things done. Right now, we don't know what we're gonna need for money until we get from back pay. We could take time and look at other companies as well. I mean, we can really go out to the field, but we have a known quantity. So,
Just waiting to hear back from them right now.
and then staff update, Liz.
I did post for the morning position, which Savannah left at the end of,
But after Thanksgiving.
yes,
Saturday
right
after
after, right after Thanksgiving. Well, I posted it the day I was leaving, and I think I have 4,
Oh,
2 of whom we've already,
declined.
obviously.
I just want in. Yeah, work at this library.
Some of whom we have interviewed before and found not so, like,
Not a fit.
yeah, not gonna be a good fit. So I'm still sorting through my emails. But I think there's 4, 2 of whom we haven't seen apply before, so that's good.
And you increased Joe's hours to 40 hours a
Yes.
week until,
Until through the
End of-
beginning of February.
February.
Yeah, Joe was working in the 34 hours a week. She's in the digital services assistant. She was looking for more hours. So I went over and I talked to HR and they said I could increase her up to 40 without having to pay the extra benefits if it was stated as such on status change form. So
What we did with Amy, and I think, what's her name? Maybe, after Melissa was gone, we had those months, we increased a couple people.
you know, Kate.
And Kate as well, and but with the stipulation as to no, I think it was Amy was the only one who's in that increase that had to sign an agreement that she knew did not get her benefits.
Yeah, per HR, I am giving her the full amount of earned time based on the hours she's working. That's the only benefit she's getting, but
Yeah.
that's
That
worth it.
calculation.
And I have to say, having her here an extra 6 hours a day for full days has really made a difference. Because we have another staff member who's kind of going on partial FMLA due to family illness. Some days we're really short. If you come in and there's 2 of us here, there's probably just 2 of us here.
We always seem to be shorthanded.
Yes.
Anything else on your list, if not?
I think that's
Okay.
it right now.
The MOU with the town, the simple update on that is that Connor has emailed Liz and me about meeting with him and Tracy Hardikoff over the MOU, and that is set for middle of January. I don't remember the exact date, like the 16th or something like that. In the meantime, I asked Connor if he would send me, I didn't know if you had this list, but if he would send me the current draft of the town personnel policies. They have them in a pretty good draft and they made a couple more changes. They haven't been accepted or approved by the West Board yet. But to the extent that a concern of the town is that the library is basically following the same personnel policies as the town for ease of administration. We need to see what those prospective policies are before we can figure out whether that's gonna work for us. So I haven't heard back from him yet.
That's been fraught. We've been working on that for 2
Years.
years. But
Yes.
I've been working. I was on that committee for.
It's still not.
It was before you were on, I remember.
Yes. Amy handed it all over to me and said, here you go.
Yeah, and Susan Frank were going.
Yeah.
So it's been a couple of years.
Oh, they made me too, but I don't really want to take responsibility. It may,
So,
uh,
I don't know what status is of that. Connor made it sound like they had a couple more little changes they wanted to make and it's gonna be ready to be passed.
I think a lot of happy glad changes, so if you're familiar with the term happy glads, but long story, but if someone wanted to change a letter from going to staff are happy to.
Oh, yeah,
And chief staff are glad to.
Yeah.
yeah, you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Some wordsmithing, let's say.
Yes.
For that. So anyway, we'll see. I haven't received anything from Connor yet. So that's where that stands at this point. Custodial services contract.
I have to, he's been in touch with me because he's been looking around to see who's gonna be able to slot in. We've pretty much it's obvious this isn't gonna happen until January. He's gonna send me the copy of the contract that he has. I don't know if he made the changes that we wanted.
Yeah, that's taken a little while. Once we agreed to the indemnification clause.
There were a
He had
couple of,
earlier said we had sent him all comments from Primex and from the town's lawyer. And he said he had no problem with that stuff. The only thing he had trouble with was the indemnification. So when we agreed to that, we were done.
but no, they
sent
haven't
back a contract.
made any other changes.
The other changes. So that means that staff is still emptying and vacuuming and whatnot.
I'm sorry, yeah, the rug was really gross tonight. I didn't vacuum this morning.
Communication system, we've been talking about that. So Liz, I think as soon as you can nail people down and get that, as far as getting the new phones in. Because remember, we were purchasing those through this year's operating budget. And the IT servers, we're waiting to hear on
Back.
Back Bay. Anything else, Liz, on you? No?
No,
That's
I
enough.
know of.
Just got back today from week's vacation, so obviously still sorting.
If there's anything new, I mean.
Want to know. New business, I didn't have anything. You look like you're taking lead, not that you got any cookies and.
I've been fed more to you. I've meetings at
Yep.
my plate, so.
Hmm.
go.
Thank you for.
Have a Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Yeah. But, and we closed all that weekend because I needed new books. That's okay.
We'll be open Saturday.
We'll make it work.
Let's see. Construction program, well. Liz and I were over at the building this morning for our starting meeting. I think I left at like almost 1:15. We started at 10.
Oh, wow.
Originally, when we heard these meetings, they were gonna be 1 hour.
Yes.
They've been 2 hours every time, so that's, well, you're not. Go. And so the good news, I would say, it's very exciting right now. I went in today and they have started framing. So, you know, the metal framing for walls. It's like suddenly you see the library. It's really gonna be nice. It really is. I'm pretty excited about it. They are on time at this point and pretty much on budget. You know, if one thing is, needs a change, it's a little over, but something else is a little under. So I think we're in pretty good shape on the budget. I keep asking them about the use of the contingency and when we'll be having information that we can comfortably make a plan around the furnishings and that sort of stuff. Where it goes. I asked Jason when we need to order furniture to have it here in June. And he said, probably no later than the 1st of March.
Sure.
So it may be that I'm thinking we may want to have a separate trustee meeting, separate from our monthly meeting, sometime maybe in February to review all of the items, see whatever the staff has been doing the research on all the furniture at this point and we need to see of what we have here, how much of that we can take and use. There's a lot that's going to come with us, I think. And we need better tables than this in the conference room, things like that. So there's a lot of decisions yet to be made on that score. I haven't really been checking in with you, Liz. I know you just.
No, I haven't heard from the latest group that I was in contact with, so I'll have to ask them.
Yeah, but we'll have to begin to push that along.
Is it possible for us to go over and?
Yes, absolutely. And I didn't bring my notebook with me from this morning's meeting, but the installation has gone in the wings, I think it was, but not the program. This Saturday, maybe, and next Monday, they're going to be doing what's called the aero barrier, which is they sort of plug up all the holes, they're working on that, and then they do like a blower test.
Yeah.
And they have some sort of material that's like in the air, I don't really, it sounds like some sort of magic stuff. And then they do this blower thing that sucks it all into any hole and crevice, that makes it really very tight.
Yep.
And that's going, as I said, next Monday, possibly starting on Saturday. And then they will, I don't remember, I should put my note. I didn't bring it. They'll be doing the rest of the installation, it sounded like the first week of January. And then they're gonna start doing drywall and such. So, yes, absolutely, we can do more tours. It's really fun to watch it as it comes along. For a long time, it didn't look like there was much change going on after they did the demo, and then they're doing things that up in the ceiling that you don't see and so on. But there was a load of people there today, electricians and HVAC people and floor people and all that kind of stuff. So when would you like to go again?
When it could be arranged, I mean, yeah,
You want to go like after Christmas, between Christmas and New Year's? You want to wait until the New Year?
either's fine,
Anytime?
okay.
Yeah.
Whatever
works for them.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
if that young man who's the project
Peter.
director, Peter, if he's there, that was really
was really
great.
helpful.
Yeah, that makes the difference.
Right.
That's great to get in there.
Yes.
So I can, I can just email Peter and ask, I'm trying to think if I don't want to be there for this aero barrier
No, that
stuff.
doesn't sound like.
You've been getting sucked in.
But it really is good to see it. And we also, so getting back to my, so we walked around the building before I talked about lighting. One of the things I think Jason is having a Teams meeting with Liz and staff on sometime this week. I just saw an email from him.
I haven't.
I think he was like Thursday or something like that. But they're going over like wall switches and the where do you need switches? You know, that we started with that today.
Where and how many and.
Where, how many, and so I guess they being Fallon and the electrician.
Right.
What plan,
Mhm.
sending us all a plan,
Yep.
and then we're gonna mark up a plan as to what needs to go where.
Yep.
So-
Figuring out like where you're putting TV.
But I'll try for a date between
Yeah.
Christmas and New Year's,
Yeah, that'd be great.
Right.
if that's a slow time for people. And we'll let you know.
Usually. is.
What we put for them, normally, he said, was like Friday afternoon.
Yes.
You know, takes
Yeah,
a point.
right. Yeah, it's
So,
it's good for me. That's mornings that we've been busy.
just get, so I can try for the 27th. Use of bonus contingency to date, we've, of the 200,000 owners contingency, we've spent about 30,000. That was my round number. I have a more detailed, but we had to pay for the structural engineer out of that because we had not included that initially in the project budget itself. And that has really turned out to have been critical because we identified where we needed steel beams and, additional supports. Taking the trees down, the tree company removed 2 bunches of those river birches overhanging the roof. And you could hardly tell that they were ever there. They ground the stumps down. It really looks fine.
Great.
And they removed 3 dead pine trees, so that's done. Seems to me there was one other thing, but I can't remember what it was. 6, 13. It's not coming to me. In my mind, it added up to around $30,000. There are 2 other contingencies in balance budget in the construction side. One is for electrical. The other, I think, was for HVAC. Those are the 2 biggest dollar amounts there. And we went through the whole lighting package. and we walked around it today and Jason thought there was maybe 15,000 of external lights that we need to, emergency lighting like at the door, we need something at the back. And there was some pretty ugly ones, lamps right at the front door, but you looked up, it's like, oh my God. So anyway, a few things like that. But that, that's out of the construction side of it, not on the owner's contingency. So I did ask Jesse, the project manager out of Bowen, how it was looking. I mean, they had said as we get to January, he's really, anything really big would probably have shown up by now between all, all the demo and all that sort of thing. And all the subcontractors working out really well. A lot of them are companies they've used before. Others, like the demo was a new company to them and they came in, I think, even under budget a little bit. And they've been pretty pleased with how it's all going.
Good.
We've talked about furniture, and I think Liz and staff are working up where do they want to have monitors? What these kind of monitors do we need? What needs to be replaced? So that's going to be a budget item that we have to analyze. We budgeted a little bit, I think, for that, but not enough. And then the solar energy, has been some concern that the new federal administration may get a ratchet back on like the
You mean like solar grants or?
solar not refunds, rebates, things like that. Yeah, rebates. And I had in mind, we'll see how we do with monies, but we basically were not planning to use the bond funds. We basically said to taxpayers, we didn't budget for that, we will raise funds for that. And the foundation has been continuing to work hard on that. But if we don't have enough money to do the entire proposal, which was the roof mount as well as ground mount, I'd like to see us do some part of that with, foundation funds. I think what will be useful, what has been suggested, is we might want to have a meeting with the trustees, with Jack Bingham, who's the person who has designed the package, and really talk through the costs and advantages if we have to subdivide it into like 2 phase.
Yeah.
Part of it now and part of it when money comes in. So again, those will be decisions. We don't really have to make a decision on solar. You could honestly, postpone it as long as we wanted to, because we've had all the conduits laid and, the roof is ready to go as far as all of that. Any connections that needed to be installed are there, just as wiring in the conduits. But the plan was to do as much of that kind of work in the ceiling as possible so that people aren't up there tramping around, messing around with the insulation and all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be pretty much ready to go as far as that goes. So probably a few months down the line, closer to spring, we'll probably want to see where do we stand financially, what can we afford to do now versus wait.
Yeah.
That's that. As far as the foundation report, Giving Tuesday was really very successful. As you know, we did several donors agreed to come up with money to have a pool of matching funds. And so not include that $15,000. Last count as of yesterday, the amount of donations was something like 13,400 and change. So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And we did send out, the foundation sent out a note again to their email list to encourage people. We said we'd keep that matching fund available until the end of the year. So, and thank all of you who made a donation. If you haven't yet, still time.
That's great. If it didn't move at all today, you're looking at close to $30,000.
The goal was to get to 30,000, and that's a nice addition.
That helps.
And I can't tell you what their current I think they're current, I think they had, oh, I might have it, let me see if I got it in an email. But they already had some cash on hand, and they have a couple of, other pledges, which I'll tell you about. Yeah. Right.
For the pay pledged money, right? For every year, for 4 years, for the First Seacoast Bank.
First Coast Bank, made a pledge of 15,000, which they would pay at 5,000 per year.
Yeah.
So they haven't sent the money yet. They were invoiced for it a couple months ago and haven't yet sent it in, and Cindy followed up with them on that. And then she'll send another invoice probably January 1st.
Yeah.
Try to get
Well,
that in.
that would get us up to the 30,000
Well, that's not part of this, it's a separate pledge.
wishful thinking.
Yeah, so, right now, the foundation has approximately $30,000 cash on hand, plus 15,000 from federal savings, First Seacoast Bank. A couple of pledges. I'm looking at what she had, the solar project. We had, well, you add to that almost another 30,000 from Giving Tuesday and the match for that.
Yeah.
And another donor, I don't think they intended to be, well, Roger Gingrich and his wife sponsored the Barrington Room, which was a $25,000 sponsorship. That is long since in, went to reduce the bond. And they have since decided to increase that to $50,000 and basically to the adult wing.
Wow.
And an earlier sponsor who was very generous said she would like to sponsor. She already donated 25,000, and she was going to double that to sponsor the children's wing. So these are dollars we haven't seen yet, but they're pledges. So those are pretty encouraging.
Yeah.
On
What was the second one you said?
25,000?
the second person is Swain, Virginia Swain,
Oh, nice.
who wanted to, I think, do something in memory of her grandparents. She doesn't live in town. She lives in Maine, I believe.
Wow.
So, so there's some encouraging,
Yeah.
you know,
That's great.
money's coming in. On the not so encouraging side, the only grant that the decision has been received yet from the grants they applied for was from, things with the Bangor Savings Bank, is it? Is that what it's?
Probably, yeah, he's Bangor.
Nearby?
Yep.
And they had requested, I don't remember how much from them specifically for solar, but that grant was declined. So there were 3 others that had already been submitted, they're waiting to hear from. And then there's, I think, 2 that had application periods for in January or there beyond, you know, in 2025. The other thing that the foundation did was applied to participate in charitable gaming, to be the beneficiary of a casino. And they were approved for that project. They had to get a state approval, and then they're going to be attached to get, I think it's like 10 days worth of proceeds from a new casino opening up in North Conway. That's supposed to be opening soon, you know, in early 2025.
Great.
So that will,
What about the lighthouse, the lighthouse savings or look, credit union? Someone mentioned it last meeting, and I don't know what the situation was.
yeah, I need to mention to Roger that they should look at the various credit unions to see what there might be
Yeah.
there available. So, you know, that's how things are going with the foundation, but they've really done, I think, what I was impressed about with Giving Tuesday is I get email from the New Hampshire Humanities Council, wonderful organization, and their promotions. And their goal was to make $8,000 in Giving Tuesday. And that's statewide. And I thought, wow, we did really well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and a lot of the people that donated are past donors. But, you know, that still is a strong commitment. So I think that's really encouraging. So that's the foundation report, friends report.
Well, I was in a school meeting, I missed it away, I guess it'll be you and Carolina and Richard.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
Friends report. It wasn't at the meeting.
And I missed it
And you missed it. Well, Richard and I were there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Were you there?
Well, it's just desserts.
Well, and that's really, Just Desserts has been taken over by the staff. I thought we were gonna wait till we had the new building for Just Desserts, but they wanted to stay with the Valentine's event. And I guess we had people already step up to say they want to bake.
Yeah, they sent it out. I think it was in the last e-newsletter.
Yeah.
That pretty,
That pretty email, when I came back, I think there's like 4 or 5 people I had to get in touch with. They either need more information or they did it last year and had fun.
So, yeah, so that's, I think the food will help pitch in on the day of the event. The staff was really into that. But, and I don't know.
Oh, I heard that, Susan had looked at how much the fund had raised in a year or something. She was saying something today that it was close to $10,000 or something.
Yeah.
We've raised. Yeah.
It's been the biggest fundraising year I think we've ever had.
That's really
We
successful.
had that. It was the fourth, wasn't it?
Mhm.
So she got her message here. It really was a pretty stellar year. Well, I'm not finding that one either. But, yes, Susan Frankel, who used to be on this board, is the treasurer of the Friends now, so she does a very nice report. And I think they're ending the year with, geez, it was a lot of money in the bank.
Yeah.
But for making money this year, it was around $10,000. The fundraising at the polls was extremely successful.
And the
And
raffle.
then the raffle made over $500.
Yeah, and the book sale.
Book sale made over $1,600. They made over $1,000 selling mums. The plant sale was,
Land sale was, yeah, like was it
Over
over
$5,000?
$5,000? Yeah.
yeah,
Incredible.
yeah. And they approved pretty much everything that Liz had on her list of what she'd like funded for next year as far as museums and periodicals and news, the cards, the 2 mailings a year for the every door mailing, which you all would have gotten that as well. So, yeah, it's been a good partnership. And I think they just deferred, they talked about additional funding for the library sponsoring something. They did formally decide, because it changed from when the bill was originally designed as to what they were going to sponsor. So they were sort of assigned the tech area background. And they had discussion, is that where they really want their money to go? The conclusion was yes, they're going to that. So what they will fund in addition to that remains to be seen, but we'll see what the furniture budget, they really want to fund furniture or that sort of thing, not they don't want to care about solar, but they really wanted their name on a,
Right.
they want to have an area they funded.
Another thing we can do is I to the Epsom Library a few times back with the Concord, and they have benches outside that were donated by certain people in memory of certain people, so maybe
That may be something for the future, maybe something we just want to have out there as a suggestion for memorial benches, because I see that in a lot of places. I think the first priority is to get the interior furnished.
Right.
And we have benches here that will take over temporarily.
I don't necessarily mean the friends, I mean just individuals,
Yeah.
sponsor or a family or something like that.
Right, but if somebody's gonna sponsor a bench, you gotta have a bench.
Right, but you can't order the bench until we get the commitment, because we don't know if we're gonna get a commitment.
Yeah,
And
I guess I'm thinking, and I may be misinterpreting what you're suggesting. I think I've seen those outdoors and they're really nice. We need to really have Leah work on a plan for the exterior gardens and whether it's play area or program area. You know, quite honestly, I think getting a landscape architect to really
People
figure
that
out what
talk
we need,
to them
and then we can begin.
about a pollinator garden. They wanted to do that, so.
I'm
Committee.
thinking of, possibly maybe looking to starting a group similar, because I'm a volunteer gardener at the hospice house in Dover. And it's just, both volunteers come and, take care of the garden here.
If we, in
Just
two
do
gardens,
something.
if we have a solid group like that,
Yeah.
because the boomers are.
No,
camped
but I was thinking more, like, you just get a group and,
Yeah, and
you
that's
could do
what
it
they
and,
do.
yeah.
Yeah.
Get a volunteer group. I'll be in that.
Yeah.
In the future.
And I'll talk with you later. There is a funding, it's a competitive project, but there is a funding opportunity, $50,000 towards exterior community space. And we haven't gone after it yet, but I figured that might be a source of some.
Who would that be through?
T-Mobile has a grant.
Wow.
It's a competitive
Interesting.
grant project,
Nice.
and I know people have applied and haven't gotten it yet, but there are others who have, so.
If we do a really, get a plan together and do a theme garden, it would help us get that. It would be sexier, it would be something we could really,
And I think the other thing, at least for the T-Mobile, it's how does the community come together? How does that bring, not just, it's not a beautification thing, it's a community space kind of thing. So, but we need to think through the plan. And Lydia said she would be interested in taking on that. Getting a group, okay. So that is,
Something else we can do, doesn't necessarily do now, it can be later, is the walkway, we can sell bricks like the historical society and we can have a name on a brick with $50 or whatever.
well, those to me, having been over at that building today, saying all the things we need to do immediately in the next 6 months is kind of mind-boggling.
Yes.
Right now, but I agree, I actually think I have pictures of something that was done at the Antrim Library. They built a gazebo and a beautiful walkway out to it and with the names on it. But that would be a whole separate project.
Yeah.
We don't have to have it all done by June.
No, that's what I'm saying.
But I think that was the thing.
The walkway in the library, once you get everybody to, you've got 200 bricks of fuck, how many bricks it takes, then you can dig it up and lay the bricks down.
Yeah.
So,
And I don't know what, that's a whole nother, I've seen the results of those. I don't know what the budget looks like for those, how much it costs to make those bricks. If it costs you $100 to make the bricks.
Like, how much is a bench?
Yeah, but we'll get to that. It's exciting to have that to look forward to. So with that, we don't need a non-public today that I know of, Liz.
Not that I know of.
So I'm gonna open this to public comments because we didn't get to do that at the beginning. We had technical difficulties. So anybody have any comments that you want to add? No? How you doing, Karen?
Dear.
You'll be doing better. I hope. Okay, well then,
Karen hearing.
how was Karen?
On here?
Magic, we have owl.
Same thing?
Yeah.
Yes,
That's something.
and it's nice to see you, nice and not a little tiny box on the screen, but your whole screen.
The tiny box.
Okay, well, with that, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. This is an early meeting.
I'll second that.
Yeah.
So do we have,
I'll let
Maybe that's what I should, I'll second your motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Why?
Okay.
There you go.
Good.